Hey there, math scholars. So today we're going to start Unit 1, and Unit 1 is entitled Transitions. And Transitions is all about kind of getting our math brains back in gear from summer, learning how to do some basic operations with decimals, fractions, percents, all that stuff. But in addition to that, I also want us to kind of focus on a theme. And the theme in this kind of unit is going to be really kind of all related to the world around us and the goal of what our lives should be, which you're going to find out a little bit later today. So let's take a look at this diagram. We have this pyramid here that says the World Economic Pyramid. And what this is saying is this is how much people make per year, and this is how many people make that per year. So take a look at this. People who make over $20,000 a year in the entire world, that's just 75 to 100 million people. They're in tier number 1, right? People who make between $1,500 and $20,000 a year, that's between 1.5 billion and 1.75 billion. That's a whole lot, because I know this is billion because this whole thing is in millions, and when I get to 1,000 millions, that's a billion. So this is billions. Go ahead and mark that on your paper. All right, so between 1.5 billion and 1.75 billion people make between 1,500 and 20,000 a year. But check out this stat down here. People that live on less than $1,500 a year, that's 4,000 millions, which is really 4 billion people. A majority of the world live on less than $1,500 a year. What do you think this pyramid means? If we have a whole bunch of a little bit of wealth up here, some wealth in here, and then 4 billion people down at the bottom living on less than $1,500. Go ahead, tell me what you think this means. So you always start off with a complete sentence. I think this pyramid means, and then you tell me what your interpretation of it is. Is it fair? Is it unfair? Do you think it's right? Do you think there should be some changes to it? You tell me in a quick short sentence right there. All right. After you finish that writing, go ahead and take a look at this question. Is there a way you can figure out how much people at the bottom of the pyramid make per day? Yes, circle that, per day. So is there a way, hey, if I make $1,500 a year, can you figure out how you make that per day? I want you to pause the video and try and figure out yourself here. After you've tried to figure out yourself, be honest with yourself, then I'll show you how to do it here. All right, so you've paused the video, hopefully. Let's go ahead and try and figure out together. So this is how I went about it. So I could go ahead and try and do 365 divided into 1,500, since there are 365 days in a year. But I decided let's go ahead and do per month first. And the reason why I'm doing per month first is because there are 12 months in a year, right? So it's going to be 12 divided into 1,500. And 12 doesn't go into 1, but 12 goes into 15 one time. That gives me 3 left over. I drop down my 0. 12 goes into 30 2 times, because that's 24. So 2 times 12 is 24. I get 6 left over, right? If I borrowed here, I get a 2 there, I get a 10 there. And then I bring down that 0. And 12 goes into 60 and even 5 times. Use your multiplication chart in your math binder that I've given you to check that out. All right, 5 times 12 is 60, so we got nothing left over. So it's $125 per month. Now if I want to figure out per day, we could say there are about 30 days in a month. Some days have 31, some months have 31 days, some months have less than 31 days. So let's go ahead and do the per day now. Per day, if there are 30 days, right, in a month, we'd go 30 divided into 125. And so let's see, 30 doesn't go into 1, 30 definitely doesn't go into 12. And now I don't know if you know your 30s, but I know my 3s. So just imagine, how many times does 3 go into 12? Well, it goes in there 4 times. So wouldn't 30 go into like 125 4 times? Yeah, because 3 times 4 is 12, so 30 times 4 is going to be 120. You get 5 left over, so you put your decimal and a 0, and you drop that on down. And now how many times, you put a decimal up here, how many times does 30 go into 50? Well, one time, right? And you get 20 left over. And we could keep on dropping zeros and doing all that stuff and keep on trying to figure out this exactly, but it would give us a really long decimal. So what is this? This is $4 and like 10 cents, 11 cents, something like that, blah, 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 blah. We could just say it's about how much per day? About $4 per day. That's crazy. Only $4 a day. You're living on only $4 a day. 4 billion people in the world are only living on $4 a day. That is extreme poverty. Think about that. Go ahead and tell me how that makes you feel. Happy, joyful, content? I mean, use a complete sentence. Be real. Be honest. How does that make you feel? 4 billion people are living on less than $4 a day. That's a crazy fact right there. All right? So let's take a look at the world compared to Chicago. All right? The minimum wage, which is lingo for the least you can make an hour, the least a job can pay you. They have to pay you this much. A job has to pay you $7.25 an hour. They can pay you more, but at the very little least, they have to pay you $7.25. $7.25 per hour. How much does a minimum wage worker make per workday per year? So per workday, there are about 8 hours in a workday and 365 days a year. Again, pause the video, try this yourself. After you unpaused it, take a look at what I did. So here's what I did. Again, I tried to do per month first because I like working with smaller numbers rather than 365. And so what I did is said, all right, excuse me, sorry, I didn't start off with that. I said, let's figure out how much they make in a day, right? So in a day, they make $7.25 per hour times 8 hours. So how much do they make in a day, right? So let's do this multiplication. So this is 40, carry your 4. This is 16, plus 4 is 20, carry your 2. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 2 is 58. Don't forget, since you have 2 decimal places here, you need to swoop 2 times here. So once, twice. So it's $58 per day. And then, so how much does a minimum wage worker make per year? So then you're going to take that 58 and you're going to say, all right, there are 365 days in a year. So 365 days times $58 per day. And we just do this math again. So 8 times 5 is 40, carry your 4. 48 plus 4 is 52, carry your 5. 24 plus 5 is 29. Lay an egg before you start your multiplication. 5 times 5 is 25, carry your 2. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 2, 32, carry your 3. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18, and add it up. So 0, 7, 11, carry the 1, 11, carry the 1, 20. So a worker in Chicago making minimum wage makes $21,170. So even somebody just making minimum wage would be considered a person all the way up here in tier 1, right? They're better off than 4 billion people throughout the world. But I mean, let's be honest, we all want to make more than minimum wage. I mean, this is very difficult to survive in Chicago on that $21,000. I mean, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. So again, you got to be thinking to yourself, hey, is this right? Is this okay that so many people throughout the world are struggling to get by while so few people are actually, making millions, if not billions of dollars? So let's think about this. Finish this statement from Mr. Deal. It says, the goal of our lives is to live with, and you should remember this from Chapel, God forever. That's our goal this year. I want you guys to realize, hey, everything you do is about giving glory to God and saying, hey, the goal of our lives is to live with God forever. And part of that is loving myself, loving my neighbors, and trying to make the world a better place. So think about this. Do you think this goal would be harder or more difficult living on $4 a day? Yes, no, or why? Think about that. You're struggling to get by. Do you think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to love your neighbor if you're scrapping to get by for food and for clothing and the basic necessary ways to meet? I'm not saying these people who are living on less than $4 a day don't understand right from wrong. I mean, they're probably wonderful people. I'm just saying, you wake up in the morning, you understand, hey, I got breakfast, I got school, I've got lunch, I've got dinner. Like I have these things for me. I have a wonderful education that I can go to. I can go home to a loving mom or aunt or uncle or grandma or whoever it is, right? And yet these people, they have to think so much more seriously just about the little things to move throughout their day, right? Part 2, calculators are allowed. We did a calculator orientation at the beginning of class. So a scholarship at CJA costs about $22,000 a year. Figure out how much one day of education at CJA costs. Remember, we're in school for 11 months. So let's do per month. And if you haven't paused the video to do it on your own, do that. But per month, so we have 11 months. So 11 will get divided into 22,000. And 11 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 22 two times. Gives us 22 with nothing left over. And if I brought down this 0, it goes in there 0 times. If I brought down that 0, it goes in there 0 times. If I brought down that 0, it goes in there 0 times. So it costs $2,000 per month. And then again per day. So how many days are in a month? Well, again, they're about 30 days. So 30 days. So we'll say 30 into 2,000. And how many times does 30 go into 2,000? Well, it doesn't go into 2, it does go into 20, so 6 times, it doesn't go into 20, it goes into, thinking about 3, not 30. It goes into 200 6 times. That gives me 180. How did I get that? Well, I just did 6 times 3 and I added a 0. All right, this will give me 20 left over, so I bring that down. Oh, there's 200 again, so it goes in there 6 times again, which is 180. I get, again, 20 left over. I put a decimal, put a 0, bring it down. Oh, it looks like I'm going to have a pattern. It looks like I'm just going to have nothing but 6s. So it's like $66.66 per day, or about $67 per day, okay? So about how many more times does your education per day cost than the 4 billion people who live on less than $1,500 per year? Remember, that's $4 a day for them, right? So pause the video, try it on your own. So here's what I did. I said people live on $4 a day, and I'm going to try and divide that into how much CJA costs per day. So 4 into 67 basically, or let's just say 66.6. 66. Let's just say 66. And so 4 goes in there 1 time. 26, 4 goes in 26 6 times. 24, put down a 2, decimal, bring down your 0. 4 goes into 25 times. So it's about 16.5 times the amount of money that people live on just per day, 4 billion people live on just per day, is the cost of your education at CJA, right? I want you to think about that. How lucky are we that we're able to come to a school and get a quality education when there are 4 billion people throughout the world living on $4 per day, and yet per day our school costs a lot more than that, right? So what does that tell us? That doesn't mean I'm trying to make you feel guilty or anything like that. I'm trying to say, hey, we need to use this education. We need to use it to better ourselves, and we need to make sure that we use it to better the world, right? We have to be kind of selfish about learning everything that we can, but then unselfish in applying that learning to not only helping ourselves, but helping everyone else in the world. Answer these 2 questions here, and please remember this symbol right here. When I hold up 4 fingers, I'm trying to tell you what really matters in life. There are 4 billion people living on less than $4 a day, and if you're complaining about somebody bumping into you, or the food in the cafeteria isn't that great, think about how grateful those 4 billion people would be to attend something like CJA.